Hello again, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Taoism Explained. I've finally been able to regain access to my YouTube account after 2 years of unsuccessful attempts, so we can pick up where we left off with Chapter 28. This one is usually called Returning to Simplicity, and we'll read 3 different versions as usual before going into the details just a little bit. One version states, "Who knows his manhood's strength, yet still his female feebleness maintains. As to one channel flow the many drains. All come to him, yea, all beneath the sky. Thus he the constant excellence retains. The simple child again, free from all stains. Who knows how white attracts, yet always keeps himself within black's shade. The pattern of humility displayed in view of all beneath the sky, he in the unchanging excellence arrayed, endless return to man's first state has made. Who knows how glory shines, yet loves disgrace, nor e'er for it is pale. Behold his presence in a spacious vale, to which men come from all beneath the sky. The unchanging excellence completes its tale, the simple infant man in him we hail. The unwrought material, when divided and distributed, forms vessels. The sage, when employed, becomes the head of all of the offices of government, and in his greatest regulations he employs no violent measures." A second translation. "Who his manhood shows and his womanhood knows, becomes the empire's river. Is he the empire's river? He will form virtue never deviate, and home he turneth to a child's estate. Who his brightness shows, and his blackness knows, becomes the empire's model. Is he the empire's model? Of virtue ne'er shall he be destitute, and home he turneth to the absolute. Who knows his fame, and guards his shame, becomes the empire's valley. Is he the empire's valley? For e'er his virtue will sufficient be, and home he turneth to simplicity. Simplicity, when scattered, becomes a vessel of usefulness. The holy man, by using it, becomes the chief leader, and truly a great principle will never do harm." And a third translation. "He who knows his manhood and understands his womanhood becomes useful like the valleys of earth, which bring water. Being like the valleys of earth, eternal vitality will not depart from him. He will come again to the nature of a little child. He who knows his innocence and recognizes his sin becomes the world's model. Being a world's model, infinite will not fail. He will return to the absolute. He who knows the glory of his nature and recognizes also his limitations becomes useful like the world's valleys. Being like the world's valleys, eternal will not fail him. He will revert to simplicity. Radiating simplicity, he will make of men vessels of usefulness. The wise man then will employ them as officials and chiefs. A great administration of such will harm no one." To put it simply, this chapter seems to be pointing out the importance of balance, and of knowing that things are usually two sides of the same coin. Knowing that the polar opposites are really just shades of the same thing, we can understand something like aggression, but flourish if we practice passiveness. Not entirely rejecting aggression, we rather know how to use it skillfully when it is useful to do so, or when there is no other option available to us. Perhaps this could be applied to knowing how to skillfully employ self-defensive tactics, but not utilizing them often. If a situation where we are called upon to use force arises, then we will understand how to protect ourselves, but we don't use this knowledge for the wrong reasons, like going around and beating people up to take their wallets. Many of the philosophies of the martial arts would agree with this sort of idea, where the practitioner trains regularly, not to become the world's best fighter or to show off their talents out in the world, but to master something and know when is an appropriate time to call upon their training. Like some form of alchemy, with the proper mindset, we can oftentimes transmute our emotional states and our reactions to things that occur in our lives. and we can be the change that we want to see in the world. That is, to live by certain principles, leading by example. Often this will be practiced pompously, whether it be seeking attention, a reward, fame, or some other form of renown. By remaining empty and welcoming, we return to simplicity, to our natural state. Not seeking, not striving, not trying to make some sort of spiritual progress, just being as we are and knowing that is enough. And perhaps with a little patience and skill, we can begin to control our reactions to things that happen in the outside world with this sort of alchemical process, becoming more passive and more empty as we continue our practice. Or would you call that a non-practice? I'm not sure. The final part is usually translated with some form of political sentiment, usually about a great leader radiating simplicity. The idea is that a wise leader will lead by example, perhaps with passivity, encouraging other officials to act accordingly and having a peaceful governing body as a result. Another way to look at this, which I tend to prefer, would be thinking about how raw wood in the form of logs is just wood, but when worked by a crafter becomes a useful object, like a boat or a spoon or a chair or something. In just the same way, when the sage is worked, that is, no longer weighed down and confused by concepts, ideologies, falsehoods, and excessive self-importance, they will become useful as one who is in their natural state and capable of leading by example. If we ourselves radiate this simplicity, the weak will overcome the strong. And without delving too deeply into political waters, as I have tried to refrain from doing with these talks, this could be understood with a little bit of nuance as something like the powerless majority uniting in consciousness to overcome a tyrannical situation or to revert an overly confused land back to its natural state. Thanks for listening, as always, especially if you've stuck around during the few years that I've been locked out of my account. Now that everything seems to be in order, you can expect some more regular uploads as we continue on through the 81 chapters of Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching.